Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Tim Bagonis. I'm the CMO here at D-Tools, and joining me is Seth Enos, Product Manager for System Integrator. And we're excited to demonstrate some of the new capabilities of our latest version of System Integrator, version 22. So first off, some housekeeping. If you've attended a webinar with us before, thanks for joining us again. And for those who haven't, very simple. We'll be presenting. You have a control panel, and on the right, you can click the red button and get more viewing space. We will be doing questions and answers, so you have a questions panel in your control panel. So throughout the presentation, if you do have questions, go ahead and enter them there. We'll do our best to answer them during the presentation. We will have some dedicated time at the end for Q&A. So a bit of what we'll cover today is we'll provide a brief overview of System Integrator, review the new capabilities in version 22, and then I'm going to hand it over to Seth, who will demonstrate the new features. We will be recording this session, and we'll make it available to everyone following the presentation. Okay, so System Integrator has been the solution of choice since 1998 for many custom and commercial integrators. The platform provides an end-to-end solution that helps streamline all areas of an integrator's business, from sales, which includes estimation, quoting, and proposals, to detailed engineering drawings and documentation through an integration with Visio and AutoCAD. The platform also is a full project management, service management solution, which helps take the project through purchasing, change orders, installation, ongoing service, and we have a full suite of business intelligence and back office operations. We have a number of third-party integrations so that we can integrate with accounting systems, CRMs, and ERP systems. And when the tool set is used in its entirety, dramatically improve the operational efficiencies of your company and provide really tangible bottom line results. So let's take a look at some of the new features in our latest release. As you can see from this list, there are a number of powerful new capabilities, really that range across the application. So rather than go through this list one by one, I'm going to hand it over to Seth Enos, who is going to review and demonstrate these new capabilities. As I mentioned, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please enter them in the questions panel. We'll do our best to answer them as we go, but we will have time for Q&A at the end following the demo. So I'm going to hand it off to Seth.
All right, thank you, Tim. Hi, everybody. My name is Seth Enos, and I am the product manager for System Integrator. And as Tim mentioned, I'm going to be showing you the new features for v22. v22 was just released last Tuesday, a week ago today. And as we always do, we do a slower rollout with our major releases where we'll maybe turn it on for 30 to 50 customers per day. And then you'll get the notifications to update. And this week we'll start, those of you that are on our AWS hosted SI servers, our support team will be reaching out to you to coordinate your server update times for when you want to move from v21 to v22. And to help you make that decision on when to move, I'm going to show you some of those new features here. But before I do that, let me just take you out to our documentation site. This is a new site. We've redirected all the links in the software. So if you ever click like the little blue eye or learn more when you see it inside of System Integrator, it'll take you out to a page here that should give you all the information you need, and you shouldn't have any questions after that. There's a lot of documentation here. Anyways, it's docs.dtools.com, as you can see up here. And the release notes for this is why I'm taking you here too, not just to show you our new site here, but to, under getting started, there are release notes. After this webinar, probably in a day, probably tomorrow, I'll have the video, the recording of this webinar embedded on this page. But for now, it's just the list of features. And you can see we just did some major features here and then broken down by genre, if you will, the projects, enhancements, Gantt view, scheduling. So I'm not going to show every single one of these today, but I'm going to go through a lot of them, and I'm just going to keep scrolling here so you can see all the work we did. And this is, of course, in addition to all the hotfixes we did on v21 throughout its time since we released that in February. There are some API enhancements for those of you that work with our third-party integrations. Eduardo on our team could not be here today to demonstrate some of these, but there's a list there. And of course, you can reach out directly to him if you have any questions about the API improvements. But there's some really good stuff in there for those that are integrated to other parties. Also, while I'm here, just so you know, we still have our legacy documentation. If you're going to stay on v21 or even v20 and all the way back to v19, we do have a separate help center for that. And again, it'll link you in there through the software, but here's our different previous versions, up to 3 previous versions out here. And we'll just keep adding to this as new ones. But all the current documentation on any given release will be here at docs.dtools.com. I think I've said enough about that. Let's move into some of these new features. So now, I won't start with a major feature. I'm going to start since we're looking here at the home screen, but then I'll jump right into one of the big features we have, which is our customer portal enhancements. But let's go through a lot of smaller enhancements in this particular release. So for those of you that are hesitant sometimes to upgrade because you don't want to have to retrain your staff, don't worry. It's not that kind of release. we didn't nail you with a ton of features in this one that are going to be completely like stop you in your tracks to figure out how to use them or anything like that. But one of the enhancements we made here is to our homepage for business analytics. And you can see here, I have 4 of them showing, and you set these up. I think everyone knows that. If you open SI, normally there'll be like it's an HTML page actually, but there's like a little splash screen, if you will, that says, v22, and it has a picture of a computer on it. You'll probably see that later. But you have the option of putting up to 6 business analytics here. You create these, they can be charts, they can be lists, as you see here. So I'm rambling on because this is a feature we've had for a while, but if I only had 3 in the previous versions, this area would be blank over here. Or if I only had 5, the bottom one, this area would be, this side would be blank. What we'll do now is when you only have 3 or 5 of these, we'll stretch the bottom one all the way across the interface. So it gives you more viewing area, so you can pick and choose wisely which ones you put in those positions. So there again, you still are limited to 6 because of load time. But if you want to say remove one of these, I'm going to take the pending change orders out and just have 3, and then you'll see this one will now span the display there. So that was an option that we had a request for. I know you guys want more of these, but when we maybe improve query speeds, we can help you there. So speaking of business analytics, though, while we're here, I'll kind of jump over to there just to show you that we added a new one out here, and it's purchase order items. So we have a data set for that now. So this one is the stock one we put out, or the default one is purchase order items on issued POs in the last 3 months. But of course, just like all our business analytics, that's customizable, and you can add that to your homepage if your role in your company, if that information matters to you. But that's a nice new data set for you to have out here. We added some search fields to help you find fields when you're building these. So we'll just do a list of that new one. Just as you can see, our search field, it just will help you, especially in projects. This list can be pretty long of the fields, and if you're looking for a particular one, it'll just help you find them faster. So we added that here, and also somewhere else, the sorting tab. Let's see. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do here is actually turn off these homepage analytics. I'll show you the other page there, because we added one more feature that some of you may use, some of you may not. But here, let's just remove everything, and we'll go back to this default image here. And you can now set as long as it's compatible in Internet Explorer. I know that's all, but that's the control that's out here in this. You can set a URL to a custom homepage here if you want. We know a lot of our larger clients have their some of their own business analytics done outside of SI, and if you have a URL to that will load properly again inside IE, it will load properly here, and you can set that up under your control panel, company information, and here we're just looking at the main screen of company information. I'm going to come here and put in a homepage URL and save this, and that's just our documentation site. Of course, we'll do that. And we'll go to the home page now, and you can come here and search for help. But again, if you have an internal site, you can use that. You can see it doesn't load all the colors that are out there, but it will. It's an option for you that to use. We used to overwrite your settings when you would manually update that in an XML file. Now we won't do that because there's a setting for it. So. All right. Again, I'm about to get to our big customer portal feature here, but before I do that, there's another thing. Very popular feature we released recently in one of the last 2 releases. I think it was dark mode, and that allows you to switch from having white backgrounds to black backgrounds, and it looks like this. I'll just take you over here to another machine where it's already set. And so we've had some pretty good feedback on this. You know, it's on or off. You turn it on or off. It's that option. But we did give you one more option here based on some feedback. They said it helps with your eye strain, but it's a little too white, all the icons. So in this release, you can actually have your ribbon icons retain the, what's that word? Polychromatic, not monochrome, if you want. And that is an application setting. I'll just quickly show you. And we'll go in here, and it's under dark mode. You can say use monochrome white icons, yes or no. If I say no, I'm going to go ahead and have to close this and reopen it. Get ready to see the latest here. Let's move that in. Windows wallpaper. We'll relaunch this, and you can see now that we've added some color back in here. So hopefully, again, everyone has different preferences for what they see and what works with their eyesight. So we're trying to get better at that. So there's just another view for you. Okay, so one of the big features, or I think the biggest one that we release in this version, would be the ability to request multiple signatures in our customer portal. So our customer portal features where you can post or publish documents for your clients to sign. Oftentimes they can view them, or they can be required to sign them, and that'd be like a proposal or potentially change orders or whatever you're publishing out here to customer portal. So we added the ability, like I said, to add multiple signatures. So if I pick a project here, I already posted one earlier, but let's go ahead and look at sharing the documents here. And this is how you would approach. So this is the one I published earlier to try to get a little head start on this webinar, but I will add a quick report here. We'll do a line item detail. And so down here on this new report, you'll see the settings have reset. This has been here, requires a client signature or not. You've had that since around the time we released this. But here are the 2 new settings here. Required the dealer signature, which is you as the integrator, which would be a countersign. So once the client signs, you then are notified that they've signed it, and then you countersign it, and then everybody gets a copy of both the signed document. This one requires a second client signature, so that can happen, of course, residential with spouses, or in commercial business partners. 2 people need to sign this, or you want to have them both sign it. You can also choose to require that, and this works for our stock proposal reports and our line item detail reports inside of SI. And so I did have this one here published earlier. Now, of course, for 2 signatures, as we tell you there, you've got to at least add 2 recipients here. So that's what I've done. And we'll go ahead and take a look out here. Customer portal. So this is one of those clients that I signed already for. So it just shows up here. This was signed by this client on this date and that IP address, and is pending a second client signature and a dealer signature for acceptance. So all this user can do is change their signature if they, for some reason, wanted to. but this is the one there. But now that it's waiting on another person, so let's go ahead and just show this real quick. I'm going to log out with that user. Quickly try to get in here. Let's see, email a different user. If I did this properly, everyone. Cool. Okay, so now it lets this user know that it was signed by the other one, so I can now sign this. Okay. There's a great signature there. We'll sign that. And so now this has been updated and it says is now pending a dealer signature. And so that's when you would log in as you, the integrator, with your login from the dealer side, and then sign this document. And I might as well show that while I'm here. So let's back out of this. Let's log out of this user. Let's put that user. And this should be me. Okay, so it's been signed by these two clients, as you can see up here, and needs a dealer signature. So now I can accept the document. Okay, we've agreed on this, and here all that. I guess I've stored my signature. So there we go. Accept. So there you go. So again, the feature being the ability to add or require, let me go down to this one, a second client signature if you want, and or a dealer signature. As you can see, these are not radio buttons, so it could just be that you only want one client signature and a dealer signature, or that you want both, or just two client signatures, and you're not going to countersign it. It's really up to you. So that is that. We also added, just since I am talking about customer portal, there is a new setting here just to, what was it? What did we do? It was to notify admin users when a customer portal document's accepted. And that's all admin users with an SI, not just ones that are assigned to the documents that are posted. So right here, that's a new setting there. If you want all admin users to be notified, which you may want to do, or you may not. Hence, it's an option. So, all right. Let me go back to projects for now, and we'll start talking about those. So hopefully everyone is excited about that feature. Okay, projects wise, I probably should have stayed in control panel, but I can access settings from here. There's a new setting that this should make a lot of people happy. When you close SI, we prompt you to check in all projects when SIs close, and that's a default. And we've had a setting. You can either be prompted or not be prompted, but that wasn't consistent with how we've been changing a lot of our settings in here, to be honest with you. So here now, again, prompted check in all projects when SI close. In V21, this is yes or no. Now it's never, prompt, or automatic. So you can automatically check them in, which is going to save you a lot of time and not having to hit that prompt. When you close a site, it knows that you're checking in all your projects, so it will just do that. I would just say this is a long overdue feature, and I'm glad it's finally here. So, and another thing I should show too here is a expanded user permission. So we'll just go ahead to user groups. This is the admin. We expanded the permission here for unapproving a project. It used to be if you can approve or unapprove a project, you had permission to do that. The request came in to be a little more granular on that, and you'll notice if we ever get requests for permissions, they're always more granular, never broader. But here, unapproved projects with change orders and unapproved projects without change orders, because you may not want, if they have change orders, things can happen to those change orders. They can be deleted. If I know we prompt you with messages. Not everybody reads our messages. You probably should. I know you think you know what they say, but we just, the reason this is here, we get a lot of support calls on this, that they unapproved a project, but where are my change orders? It's, well, you unapproved that. We got rid of your change orders. Or you had the option, sometimes when we do unapproved, you can keep certain files, but you chose not to because either you didn't read the message or whatever. So now you can just deny people these permissions. If it has change orders, nobody can unapprove that, or only administrators can unapprove that, so they know what they're doing. We also added a setting when you are unapproving a project that does have change orders to back those up. So you'll just see a prompt when, hey, do you want to make a quick backup, just in case. Again, just to save you the trouble. Apparently our messages aren't enough. So now there's some ways to crawl back out of that hole you dug yourself into. So yeah. All right, real quickly, I'm going to move over to a project editor. So in here, we increased the quantity limit on a quantity-based project from 1,000 for products and labor items to 10,000. I know that is a lot, but there was a limitation before that you couldn't change this above 1,000. Now you can add up to 10,000. That's here, of course, in the project or when you're dragging it in. Definitely recommend we only do that on quantity-based projects. But when you convert a quantity-based project to a unit-based project, which is the standard procedure for when you're going to break everything out into individual items, we will prompt you if an item has more than 5,000 as a quantity, that we might prompt you, hey, you might want to mark this as a bulk item, so we don't split that out into 5,000 individual connectors in the actual product, because you probably don't need that with a component ID for each one. If you do, great. You will, of course, slow down performance with a massive file like that. But hey, you have the option of putting up to 10,000, at least in a quantity based, and use your best judgment when converting to a unit base, whether you want those to be individual or not. The other thing we allowed for, which we never did before, is you can have a zero quantity item in a project, which will not count towards anything. It's just a placeholder at that point. I just changed that package, actually, there, I think that is, to a zero quantity. And the major use case for these zero quantity items would be for you to build a project template that doesn't have it has the items in it, but there's no dollar value associated at that point, essentially, because there's zero quantity. And then your salespeople that you've trained so well can go in there and change the quantities as needed for what they need for that particular project. And so we do have a different row color for a zero quantity. I don't know if that's showing up for you. This should show as I guess that's light blue. I don't know the real color. That's an application setting, just like all of our other row colors inside of SI, that you can change, like accessorized items, optional items. What's the other one? Alternate items. You can all change the text and the row color. So same thing for zero quantity. You may want those to stand out when you look at them. And also the zero quantity ones here, we added as an item validation setting. Right here, total zero quantity. So we'll flag that as if again, on the individual items, if you want to set that. So that's an option there. And again, if I remember later, if I'm in application settings, I'll just show you that there's a row for that. Also, regarding item validation settings, since I'm here, side note here, not marked taxable, that's new. So if an item is not marked taxable, you can get one of these little reminders over here, like, hey, you might want to mark that as taxable. But of course, there are use cases where there'll be certain items that aren't, as we've learned. Okay, so hopefully that will improve your time working inside of SI there. We added values to this form here, which is our price adjustments and rounding form. Here you can see when you have a value, you just have to save the form if you change this, but we'll display the values here for the 3.5 miscellaneous parts percentage and my 1.25 labor adjustment. And again, if I change this to 2.25 and hit save, that number will increase. We just never displayed the values here before. You would have to run a report to see those. So that, again, hopefully improves your life there. We added column filters to summary views. So you can see here in this, this is an item view. We have these column filters. Column filters are great. If you don't use them, I'm surprised. You probably should be. They're great. They filter wonderfully. But we didn't have those when you switch to a summary view. So now if you go to, say, a location summary for this project, and we can expand this just so it looks better, we added column filters in here for appropriate. So that should help you when you're reviewing a project, hopefully. Okay, when you're updating similar items in a project, we used to have just one setting for specifications. And specifications is still there, but we took some of the items under specifications, which is a tab in the software, and moved them out individually. And those being wire length, head end, start terminal, and end terminal, because wire length is kind of important in the software, especially on bulk wire, where you might have changed, say, the price of a bulk wire, say per foot, inside of a project, and you want to update the similar items. Well, the specifications could get updated and overwritten, and the wire length being one of those, you might not want those because every wire drop per location could be different. So when you are updating now, and I probably should just pick something here and show it, update similar items. What I'm referring to are these fields here: wire length, start and end terminal, and head end. Those used to just be lumped in here with specs, which specs are usually height, width, and depth on items, or in wire, it's diameter, and I think that's it. And then wire length becomes on a per drop basis. So broke that out for you. Okay, and then when you are looking at custom layouts, we added a new filter for you. So let's go here to manage custom layouts. I'm going off memory here, so I know this is buried out here. It's under filter. Here, there is under order and install. Do not order right there. That wasn't there before. It was a part of our quick filter in the project, but we did not put that here when you're filtering on your custom layouts. And a lot of people requested that to be able to filter those items out as needed in custom layouts. So there, always be careful when you are filtering custom layouts. Know that you're filtered. Look up here. It'll tell you you're filtered. Okay, moving ahead, let's keep going. I'm going to stay on the topic of project changes for now, but go to change orders, and because those are part of a approved project. So I'm just going to come on back here. Change order numbers can now be edited. They used to not be. They would just assign. In fact, I'm going to just edit one of these right there. Edit. I can just change that change order number. Now you can't have duplicate numbers here. Let me restart that. There is a setting in SI that allows you to have two change orders that are number one. As long as one's external and one's internal, you can have separate numbering sequences between internal and external. So as long as the number you change this to, it doesn't exist for those, you can change it here, the change order number to be whatever you want, because the primary use case here is we know y'all do this a lot, is you delete your change orders when you didn't mean to, or you did mean to, but that messes up your numbering format, and that doesn't look good when you're presenting to a client, internal change orders especially. Hence why we allow you separate numbering between internal and external. That was a feature request a while back, because the client signs the first change order 1, and then you have a bunch of internal change orders. They don't know why they're signing change order 5. It's like, shouldn't this be 2? So that's why that's there. But again, with your when you unapprove projects and you mess up change orders, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone out there, but as you can see, we've added some features here for this. You will be able to change this number to make it look cleaner and not have your clients second guessing you, which is never a fun thing. Anyhow, we added lock and unlock feature for change orders too. So you can choose to lock or unlock these. This was not here before. And there are user permissions for this. There's a change order section under your user group permissions, and lock and unlock change orders is absolutely a permission. Not everybody should have this permission, but it's a good new setting, because you may want to lock those down once they're approved. And again, stop people from messing with change orders. That shouldn't be messing with them. Speaking of change orders, when we approve a project, which again, for those of you that don't know that. I think you do. There's an approval here. When you approve a project, which is one of our features a while back that we added for the new change order process, that's when it triggers change orders to become a thing. Everything change you make moving forward on an approved project becomes a change order. And we lock down almost every single field on that item, with the exception of a few. Now, phases we used to lock down in v21 and prior. We would lock that down. And I don't really want to get into a discussion of how phases have changed over the year, but they used to definitely be more important to be locked down. But now that phases have been, we've kind of changed their usage into labor items, and phases still exist. They don't control money so much as they used to as far as labor. Phases in SI now are, again, they kind of like they always act. It's kind of when things are happening in a product, rough in or pre-wire, whatever you call it, trim, finish, is it programming? It's kind of like that area of time when it's happening. So we used to lock that down. Now on an approved project, you can assign phases to items. And the use case being, we were told, depending on how our users are using phases, they don't know the phase it's going to be in until a little while later in the project's life cycle. So they approve the project and then they're stuck with no phase prior to v22. So now we'll let you put a phase in there, with one caveat being, as long as the phases don't have adjustments associated with them, these product and miscellaneous parts adjustments. That's a very granular way to charge those. Some of you do that. Just know that you cannot add a phase if it's going to be adding money to the job there. But if it's just a phase designation of when, like rough in, trim, or finish, cool, you can do it. The other thing is that we don't lock on an approved project, the other fields, I should say, are unit cost and the model number, like the manufacturer model of an. We would let you change that. And some of you were using that as a placeholder feature, or so I'm being told. And you would go in on an approved project and then just change the model number on that to something else. And the problem with that is nothing. We didn't see that as a change. It's just. It's still the item that has the same component ID. To us, it was the same, but it was a change. You could give it a whole new model number. You couldn't change the price on it, but you could certainly change that. And it wasn't triggering changes on like revision compares or anything like that. So you now, as an administrator of SI or whoever has permission to do this, there are settings for you to lock the manufacturer and model and or name field if it's a package, and or the unit cost for items on an approved project. Let me show you the setting and then I'll talk a little bit more about it. It's under project rules, which there you are. Project rules, there's a new tab here for approved project here. We've had this setting at the top for a while, but we moved it to its own tab here with these two other features. So allow changes to the item name for approved items, project items, and that's manufacturer, model, and or package names. And then this is allow changes to unit cost for approved project items. So you can now block the cost. But before you do that, there is a reason we have allow for costs to be updated, because costs can change. Now, we've locked down the project when you approve it for the price you sold it at. Right, so that shouldn't change, hopefully. But when you actually go to order the parts and the cost to use different, oftentimes, and again, hopefully a lot of you know this, and there's a setting for it. Like when you create a purchase order and have a cost on that, you issue that, and then you open a project and fields on that purchase order have been updated, like again a cost. We prompt you within the project to say, hey, item or fields have changed on purchase orders associated with this product. Do you want to update those fields? And if you do that, we'll go in and we'll update the cost for you. That's one of the options. Well, now you can block that if you want by unchecking these boxes to whoever has, again, permission for these project rules. Okay. I'm going to move on now to Gantt view. And that's, I know a lot of you do use our Gantt view. We added some features here. Now, the first one is not just Gantt specific, it's more project specific, but it's very useful on the Gantt, and that is the ability to assign roles to items on a checklist. So, bear with me. I think I should probably come here to talk about this checklist, because it is a global setting out here that you can do. Now, checklist for those, again, I keep saying, those of you that don't know, maybe you do know or you partially know. We added checklists, I don't know how many versions ago. They seem to be pretty popular. They're to-do items that you can add to a project. You can add them to a Gantt view to create tasks based on the items here in a checklist. You can add them to tasks. You can add them to service orders. So they're quite flexible. So you have a global list out here of checklists. And again, they can be used for all different entities within SI. But we did a project level setting this time. So, but what you can do is take and edit one of these. There's a new column here for roles. Now, roles are associated to your users in SI or your resources. And there is a distinction between those two. I don't want to nerd out with you, but over here, I'm just going to circle it here because I can't open it right now. The users, you can assign them user group permissions. So we know there's a user group. You're an administrator. You're a standard user. You're an accountant, whatever you've set up out there. There's also roles. And roles historically haven't done too much in SI, but roles are just a designation like here, accounting, project manager, technicians, sales reps, engineers, and it's just a list of names. That's all roles really are. It's a list of names. You can assign those to users or resources inside of SI. They can be used on custom reports and when you're assigning and filtering for resources to add to tasks. But now we've added this roles list here to checklist items. And the feature set of this is when a checklist is added to a project, we look at the list of resources for that project. And if whoever's assigned the project manager role in the project or is a technician or is an accountant on that project, we will automatically assign those users / resources to the checklist item within the project. We're also going to assign those resources on a Gantt view when you insert that. So that's kind of where I'm leading with my demonstration here for Gantt view, but it also works within projects. So projects have resources. Gantt views have to be associated with a project. So we're looking right at the project resources to assign these. And I'm going to give you a demonstration of that right now. We'll use, I guess this is, what's the checklist role assignment? We'll choose this one. I think, let me see. Maybe we'll do this one. Gantt view. Okay, so I've opened up the Gantt view for here, and I'm going to add a checklist. So I'm adding tasks from a checklist. Let's put it that way. It's one of the options out here. This is not a new feature. You could always do this, but the role assignment will be. I think it was Ruffin I was looking at. I'm going to hit next. I'm going to select all of the items in my checklist here to get added here as task, and we're going to hit finish. And let me see here. Wrong project, of course. Bear with me. Sorry, guys. Which one did I set it up for? Sorry, I think it's this one. I think. Gantt view. Add from checklist. And let me see. Finish. There, that did what it was supposed to do. Wrong project. I didn't have any resources in the other one. So what this came in and did now is it added my checklist items and it automatically assigned those resources based on that role assignment from the project. And that also just translates over here to the resource names list. So that's a new feature and it will save you time, not only for projects when you add them to a project, but really the goal here and why we did it was to work here on the Gantt view. So you can create a big list of items that you want to put out here and it will look at the roles and say, okay, the project manager for this project is this person, they get assigned to that task. Now, of course, it could change. There could be two project managers, of course. That's always fun. They get to bang heads on a project. So you can say, oh, well, it's not this person, it's this person. You make those choices as needed. A couple other Gantt improvements here. I'm just going to move some of these out a little bit. Hopefully not get yelled at by, here, I'll get yelled at real quick because it's crossing a weekend and then I'll let it adjust. So here we've got some tasks out, and I'm just spreading them across. Done. Oops, I didn't grab this one. Okay, so there we go. What I wanted to show you is predecessors. So we have predecessors here, and we've had that's not new. But if you want to add a predecessor to a particular task, when you click here, we've added a lag time here. So you can say that it's, well, let's see, what row am I on here? I'm going to go cancel. Let me just pick a different one. I need this one here. I'm going to click here. We're going to go row number for a lag time of 2 days. And this can be in hours or days. It defaults to days. Use D for days and H for hours. But I think if I tab out, you'll see a D up here maybe. Or when I save this, it added that there. But that allows you to add a lag time to push out the task 2 days from the completion of the previous task. That's a predecessor. So as you can see here, this one has that 2-day span that I added. Again, it could be in hours depending on how you set up your Gantt view. And here in the predecessor column, you'll see here it's row 4, finish to start plus 2 days. So that's what that is there. And again, that's for those of you familiar, you know what lag times are. We also added a successors column here. Now you can add predecessors again prior to v22, as I mentioned. We never showed the successors though, but now we will. If I just click that, you'll see the successor is right there, listed in this view. And it's a read-only column. You don't add successors. You still add predecessors to tasks, and then we'll just display the successors, but it can help you as you're navigating your Gantt views. So hopefully that's clear, and I won't save that. Okay, I'm going to go through a few other setting change or feature changes here with you, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Reporting, we now allow you to set a cover page per client. So there's a global cover page image, and this is for our proposal reports, and there's a separate cover page report. And of course, you guys have custom reports, I'm sure. But like the cover page itself, there's an image that displays there, and you can have a global one, that could be your company logo, on a per project basis for as long as I can remember. We've had the ability to set it per project. Now you can also set one per client if you want to use a client logo and you do multiple repeat work for a customer or client. Let me just open someone up here just to show you the tab. It's just your cover page image, and you can add one if you want. And that's just long overdue. That's been asked about for a long time. There's another setting for you that's a little subtle here. It's a report setting, and what it allows you to do. I'll take you to reports real quick. The report setting that you're going to, I'm going to show you. It may not matter to some of you, but it's actually really, really cool. You can include your short description in your item hash. I'm sure, I don't remember what we named it, but bear with me. And here now I'm not going to be able to find it. Watch. Here we go. Okay. Separate items on proposal and line item detail reports if the short description is different for the same item. Okay. I know it's weird, but we didn't want to put the word item hash in there and explain all that. But let me explain to you the use case for this. This is for those of you that do custom shades. That's an especially popular use case for this, where it's the same manufacturer and model number. It's just a completely different description because of the dimensions, essentially. And the price is going to be different too. Every one of those is custom, but it's the same manufacturer model. So when we group items on line item proposals and line item detail reports and proposals, we look at what's called an item hash and manufacturer model. And we used to put price in there, but we don't anymore. So what happens is if you have a bunch of these different shades, for instance, they all get grouped into a quantity, say, of 10 of the same manufacturer model, the price gets averaged between, like, it all adds up there, but it's like the price that shows there's the aggregate of them is the best way to say that. So it doesn't look right. You know, some will be priced differently than others, but you wouldn't know that on a single line item like that. So that option will allow you, if the item description is different on the item, we'll completely separate that out as its own item in the proposal and line item reports, and give a separate price next to it. And that way you can show, again, something like custom shades much more easy. So yay to that. Okay, catalog. Vendor partners. For those of you that don't know, our vendor partners are manufacturers or distributors that have partnered with D-Tools to provide you, our users, with updated pricing, as we say, but what that usually corresponds to is your cost, your unit cost. And then, of course, you'll set your own selling price and decide what you want to sell the item for. But what your cost is as a partner to these vendors. It's historically been pricing for US only. So under your company information, if you weren't marked as United States or USA, we would not allow you to connect to a vendor partner. We have added support now for pricing for our users in Canada, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. Those four, again, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand, can now sign up with our vendor partners and get your pricing updates through there. So I'm also going to, anyways, this is where you would set your price updates and all that, but cool new feature. That's also available in D-Tools Cloud, of course. Okay, we, and some of you may already know this, when you're looking at an item here, let me just open one up. It's not even a real item. We show 4 decimals here on all of our pricing, and we have for years now. It's an accuracy thing, but we finally were overcome some of the just display limitations that we have in SI. This being one of them. We now gave you an application setting to just display 2 decimal points in currency fields when it's in a grid. We have a lot of grid interfaces in SI, so we were able to change it here if it's not in a grid, like it's in a field, like inside of a project. There's an item. In fact, let me show you that. It won't change within a project. Say here, in this grid it will. That's fine. That's a grid interface. But in here, let's see, price. Here we don't use a grid. Down there's a grid. These are separate fields. You're still going to see the 4 decimals here, you know, and we've, unless you have a setting inside the project not to display them. Just a heads up, it's more of we're still tracking 4 decimals, mind you, but we're only displaying the 2 for, again, that bothers a lot of people's eyes, having all those decimals. The accuracy will still be there, just so you know, and that is important. A lot of you like to get down right to the penny. So we did improve speed of queries out here. That's nothing you can see. It's going to be faster. And so there. For mobile install, we made one improvement in this release, and I'm going to take you back to projects. And we're going to go to, let's see, I think have one. Let's see. Do we have service orders or tasks? Here we go. Here's a task. That's been published to mobile install. So what the feature is here is when you're publishing to mobile install, which is our website for installers. Look, I'll go ahead and publish this again. We show you what you've previously published. So down here is now says publish documents. And so this used to be other files, if I'm not mistaken. But now it's showing you the previously published documents because you may need to remove them. If you've created, say, a report and published it up there for your technicians on a task or on a service order, and then you realize you've made a mistake and you want to republish that document, you can now see what's been published and when, and you can delete those from here even and republish, or just not republish something that doesn't need to. Regarding extra file or other files besides reports, that's just now a tab up here. And then if you have engineering scope of works or installer scope of works inside the project, a scopes tab will also display here because I happen to have one. You won't see that if the scopes don't exist. But so we just moved all of our files, or any, this could even be a programming file you want to attach here to a task, all that stuff up here, and then this just shows the previous. So that should, we just had no view of that before, let's put it that way, and it frustrated our users. It's like, what did I already publish? I don't know. Okay, regarding scheduling, which is tasks and service orders inside of SI, we added formatting for those numbers. We never let you do that before. We just numbered tasks 1 through whatever, counting on up. Same with service orders. There was no format for them like we have for a lot of the other numbers in SI. So just know that you can now, if you want, you don't have to, task number format and service order number format. Here, I'll show you one, just so you see the values here. Client name, client number, project name, custom fields. So there you go. There's that. Oh, and we redesigned our service order form. And this is bigger and better than some of the other features I've shown, but it doesn't matter. We're here now. Bear with me. Service order, I'll just do a new one. And I just want to show this new tab off. So on a service order, we used to have 2 tabs for items. There were products and labor items up here. So there was labor items, and then next it was products, and they were separate tabs because of separate fields. But the problem was when you would add labor to one tab and products to another tab on a service order, you didn't have a consolidated view of the total price. So we've made it now one items tab with subtabs, and gave you a nice breakdown here of the product, cost price, labor, items, and total over here. So you get a nice big summary on here without having to click back 20 different times as you're trying to reconcile a service order. This should save you a lot of grief and time, hopefully, out there. And the last thing I'll mention here before I go to Q&A, oh, geez, I didn't look at the time. Sorry about that. Real quick. Item receipts on purchase orders. We've always had the ability to export item receipts from SI over to QuickBooks Desktop, which has always been a feature. You can now export them to QuickBooks Online as bills. And there's nothing fancy in there. All you do is just say export to QuickBooks. If you happen to be connected to QuickBooks Online versus Desktop, it goes over as a QuickBooks Online bill. That way, it helps you keep your SI purchase order item receipts in sync with QuickBooks. And as Intuit gets stricter on and stops selling licenses to desktop versions of QuickBooks, I think a lot of you may be moving to QuickBooks Online. So, of course, as we keep releasing SI updates, we're going to be moving more towards and focusing more on QuickBooks Online for feature requests. And what are we lacking? What can we add there that we already do in desktop? And so keep the requests coming in, please. Feedback.dtools.com is a good place to go. That's where you can give us feature requests. And that is my presentation for you for the new features of System Integrator v22.
We just shipped 22, but yes, work is already underway on our next version. And what you'll see on the roadmap are there's 3 main, big areas that we're working on. We are working on inventory management. So that is underway. As Seth mentioned previously, we are working on multi-office support. Whether that specific customer portal gets in there can be added to the roadmap. But we are working on multi-office support, and we are working towards a native app for field service technicians. Those are the 3 main areas that we're working on the roadmap. So we will, keep you updated as we go. We hope that you had a good overview of what's in this new version. We encourage you to upgrade as you can. And as always, if you do have any questions, you can reach out to us at either info@d-tools.com, sales@d-tools.com. Thanks so much. And Seth, thanks for the presentation. And we hope you guys have a great day.